A man reproduces himself through his child, so when he leave here, he can just smile. But I see fit to stay here a while, maybe buy a timeshare somewhere, rock bumware, beach chair, write a book each year. You can write yourself out of your blessings. Wreck your Lambo the first stages by driving too reckless. Time is too precious, these some obvious lessons. Please remind me to watch my step while I balance on edge and ski on the slopes of life. Slide down the Ave at night, watching them graphing graffiti on walls, that's the sight. Cars from Germany, I be pushing the fastest type. Looking at real estate, brother, I need the asking price. Imagine another rapper making me perspire. I got more styles and more flows, plus I'm much flyer. I got more heights to reach, but I'm already higher. I'm already on to the next thing. Peace and bless, King.
Hey, I'm sorry. I'm playing this intro again. I'm sorry. Here you go. New intro 2022. What is it? May 9th. New intro for whatever it takes. Let's go.
A man reproduces himself through his child, so when he leave here, he can just smile. But I see fit to stay here a while, maybe buy a timeshare somewhere, rock bumware, beach chair, write a book each year. You can write yourself out of your blessings. Wreck your Lambo the first stages by driving too reckless. Time is too precious, these some obvious lessons. Please remind me to watch my step while I balance on edge and ski on the slopes of life. Slide down the Ave at night, watching them graphing graffiti on walls, that's the sight. Cars from Germany, I be pushing the fastest type. Looking at real estate, brother, I need the asking price. Imagine another rapper making me perspire. I got more styles and more flows, plus I'm much flyer. I got more heights to reach, but I'm already higher. I'm already on to the next thing. Peace and bless, King.
What's going on? What's going on, people? It is Monday the 9th. You see the brother Joel Simmons shouting me out. What's up, brother? I pray all is well with you. Shouts out to Angel in the background for creating that intro. It moved me. That's one of my gym tunes. Shouts out to Nas, still, I don't know, after 30, 40 years, still making excellent music, excellent and relevant music. So shouts out to him. Wow. You know, I heard someone say this on Friday. And wait, let me do some quick housekeeping. Number one, you guys know I'm here each and every Monday, 9 o'clock. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for checking in now. Thanks for the later people who come in later, catching the replays. I appreciate you. Number two, it starts with me. Every Wednesday at 12 o'clock, if you guys aren't heading over to the Tenacity Foundation to check out It Starts With Me, you are truly missing out on Joel and the interviews that he's doing some excellent work there. So go check him out, please. It Starts With Me, 12 o'clock. It drops on Wednesdays at 12 o'clock. Fridays, the Community Beacon, guys, 6:30 each and every Friday. Last year we spoke about last month we spoke about things that we would talk to about talk to with our younger selves. That was awesome. This month we're getting to some more tangible things. We're talking about changing the narrative, how we change the narrative. We filmed the Thursday one for Friday, and had we not, man, this is a great segue into it. What difference a day makes. We lost one of the greatest YouTubers of all times between that Thursday and that Friday. By the time that show came on Friday, I want to extend my sincerest condolences to the family and loved ones and friends of Kevin Samuels. That brother will truly be missed. He started some conversations that were awesome. He brought together, and he definitely influenced the culture. I appreciate all that he did. I appreciate all that I learned from him. Just from me sitting on this side of the camera. I mean, how powerful and impactful can you be, especially with these different platforms and being able to take advantage of it? And of course, this brother was one in a million. So I definitely want to send out my condolences to him and his family. He definitely made a huge change in my life. He made a change in the culture. So we're definitely sending over a lot of prayers. The brother has transitioned, praying that he's moved on, and God is watching over us, but he's watching over us as well, and see what happens. Essentially he's a legend. He's a YouTube legend, tireless worker. When we talk about, and I know some of you may not necessarily like what the brother had to say. I didn't agree with everything that he said, but there were some very, very valid points. More so was like when I initially started watching him, past a lot of the salacious things that were these little clips that we were taking. It was more so from me getting into sales from that sales point of view and him being an accomplished salesperson. And if you ever watch his interviews, he was masterful. The sales, one of the first rule of sales is listening. And he was a masterful listener, able to go toe to toe with anybody if he wanted to. Like I said, sometimes the brother came off with tact, and had a certain tone, but there was definitely a message behind it. I saw what he wanted behind it, and we're just gonna keep on moving it and keeping it moving forward, man. So appreciate Kevin Samuels, brother. Thanks for doing what you did and at such a high level with urgency and intentionality. Wow. So we appreciate you. Thank you. Getting into, let me see Lou. Lou's here. Lou, what's going on, brother? I appreciate you. Lou and Joe, come on, man. The brothers are stepping up. I appreciate my brothers. We go back to 2010. I appreciate you all supporting the show. It's Monday. I know you guys could be any other place in the world, sleeping, getting some rest, etc. But you chose to be here with me, and it's heartfelt. I appreciate it, guys. All right. Man, what a difference a week makes. Before I get into real estate news, yesterday was Mother's Day. Shouts out to all the mothers, the mamas, baby mamas, the grandmamas, the bonus mamas, the mothers all across. I mean, whatever you call yourself, if you are playing that motherly, or not playing, if you're in that motherly role, we appreciate you guys. I think we celebrate you. I try to celebrate mothers year round. Coming from a person who lost their mother, I know how important it is. I appreciate you mothers that are doing the best that you can. And hopefully you can gain some inspiration from what it is that we do. You all are invited to Community Beacon. I know we tend to talk from a male point of view, right? But a lot of these things are intangibles, like, at least are tangible. It doesn't matter. So appreciate you, mothers. Thanks for tuning in, those of you. And I hope you enjoyed your day. So appreciate you guys. All right, real estate news. Let's get into it. We have to talk about it, right? We have to talk about the higher mortgage rates. Last year, the Fed shot it up about 0.5%. That's a whole lot. I believe it's here it is, since 2000. Since 2000. Let's read this. Let's read what they're talking about. I mean, it's definitely getting a lot of buyers out of the marketplace, especially with homes still being at a premium. There's still higher sales homes. So a lot of people miss their chance of even being able to afford a home. Let's read what it says. The Federal Reserve shot it up, short-term interest rate higher this week, making it more expensive to borrow money to buy a home or fix it up. I had been talking about how cheap money was. Like, it made absolutely no sense to use cash for the past close to 2.5 years. With interest rates being at around 3% or less, it was an insane time to borrow money to help leverage it against a lot of what's going on. So it only can last for so long. And they're doing it in the name of slowing inflation. And inflation is crazy right now. I know a lot of people are starting to feel it because it takes about we were talking about inflation 3-4 months ago, but it takes about 3 to 4 months for people to actually feel inflation. to actually understand that they're spending almost double at the pumps. Let's just take gas for instance. Now you're spending double. The first month you're okay. The second month you start to be like, huh? And then the third month you have to map out going to the shopping and going to the gym. They all have to be in one trip because the amount that you're spending is more. However, most people's probably plus 90% have fixed incomes. So that means that it has not changed, and you're not getting a cost of living increase of like 7 to 10%, essentially what it's going on with inflation, right? So this is they're raising interest rates to slow inflation, which is interesting. I'm not a super economist, but let me see what they're saying. The central bank raised the federal fund rate by half a percentage point. The Feds hadn't raised the federal funds rate by to 2000. 0.5% increase is considered a hawkish or aggressively anti-inflationary move. It's supposed to go up again. Prominent Fed officials have been hinting for weeks that they would deliver a larger than usual rate increase, and mortgage rates already have risen sharply in anticipation of it. I think we're at about 5%, climbing roughly 3/4 percentage point from mid-March to the end of April. You could have bought a home in January, February, March, and here we are. In April, it's almost like it's a wrap for a lot of people, especially first-time home buyers. The speeches that were happening in recent weeks were all about a much more hawkish stance. That's really where this drive in interest rates happened. The Fed's effect on mortgage and equity rates. The Fed's increase will cause other interest rates to rise. Yep, everything. These loans also called HELOCs. These are lines of credit. Oh, there it is, lines of credit. They will rise 0.5% within a billing cycle. Okay. The Fed also has an indirect impact on mortgage rates. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Lawrence Young, chief economist, noted that the rate on 30-year mortgage has risen and it's still historically low, right? But, it sounds terrible to go from, 3 to 5%. And it definitely just makes a difference with your pockets. If inflation turns higher, then the Feds will need to be even more aggressive, and this will further bump up mortgage rates, which is more than likely going to happen. Typically, the Feds raise the federal rate 0.25, a 1/4 point, but no one will call today's economy typical. Nope, blah, blah, blah. We are really committed to using our tools to get 2% inflation back. Good luck. Like I said, at some point in time, we have to understand when we're looking at a paradigm shift. So pay attention. As mortgage becomes more expensive, home buyers may be forced to shop for less costly houses, which could slow the pace of home price increases. And in turn, the interesting thing about this is that at a certain price point, inflation is not, people don't feel it as much. What do you mean, Mike? When you start to hit about that $500,000 mark, which a lot of these homes are starting to hit, people don't feel inflation like those first-time home buyers. Those people who are, looking at something in between $150,000 and $300,000. Like those are the people that are getting Kirkpatrick, right? And then the 2 to 300,000, 2 to 350, they're feeling it too, right? And we'll talk about it. I'm talking about the mortgages. People who in January were able to afford mortgages that were around 250, they're really feeling it and they're being priced out. The people who are from 250, what I would say more like 300 to 425, like they're really being priced out. But the people that have always been looking at mortgages that were at around 450, they don't necessarily feel it as much. And so prices, especially here in South Florida, are at around that 400,000 plus. And there's buyers who are lined up for decent homes at 400,000, and they will buy, what, in January might have been more of an entry level price is going to hit about that mid-level price, that move up buyer. And so they're going to do it. And more people who are at that 450,000 rate, they have people who can afford 450,000. They have 401ks to borrow against. This is not their first home. Their parents will give them money, gifts, etc. Like they have the expended. So it's like you're seeing who is being forced to, essentially rent at this point in time. So just take that to the bank with you. Take the hypothetical example of someone. All right, I love getting into these numbers. Who can afford a $1,700 a month mortgage? Okay, so $1,700 a month. That was like a 260, 270 back in. And then of course you have your HOA or your association payments. But who began shopping for a house in February? Back then, okay, so you're saying in February. Back then, the 30-year fixed rate mortgage was around 4%. Finally made a successful offer in late April when the 30-year mortgage had risen to 5.25. Here's how the rate affects, I like this, can afford to borrow. Perfect. At 4%, the buyer can afford to borrow $356,000. Okay. At 5.25%, which it is where it is now, the buyer can afford a $307,900 mortgage, a loss of $48,200 in borrowing capacity. A house like this versus a house here or above. This is different between almost in South Florida. This is the difference between a single family and a townhome. So you went from being able to just be around a decent single family to now you're, with the prices, et cetera, you're at about a townhome here. And if this goes down at $299, you are in a frenzy. You're in a frenzy. Anything around this price point is a frenzy. This is multiple offers. This is, giving up on some of the terms. This is still a seller's market at that price point, an aggressive seller's market. Guys, if you're understanding this or you have anything to say about it, please let me know in the comments. We can definitely talk about it. I'm kind of lost into this. This is like my wheelhouse. I love looking at these different things. All right, so that's it. That's all I want to say in regards to real estate. I think I said a lot. I think you guys can appreciate that. I hope you guys appreciate it. I appreciate you all for taking it in. Did I sound passionate and excited about that? I think I did. I love it. Wow. Let's see. Lou says, Lord knows I try to buy a condo. People are bypassing inspections, appraisals, etc., but not to change your topic up. I've learned that the homes that were in my budget had little to no healthy budgets or reserves. The big picture looked great, but with my research, I revealed a bad future, meaning future assessments. I've learned a lot about condos, I'm sorry, I'm reading Lou's. Lou wrote me an essay, guys. Future says I learned a lot about condos, HOAs, and then management companies. It seems like everyone has their hand in the cookie jar. Crazy thing is people are still buying with... that's it. I don't know what Lou was saying. It's all Lou, it's all good. It's all good. I love it. I love it. I want to get into it. Okay, so really, here's the thing with properties, and is that everyone has their own situation. Everyone has their own situation, and a lot of people are more savvy than others. Okay, so take into consideration a seller's market, or in the market that we have now. We can get into that a little bit. You got to take into consideration, why are people selling? Why do people sell? Okay, so usually and normally people sell because they have to sell. People sell because they have to sell. Some kind of life transition, because who wants to sell, right? Who wants to move? No one's excited. I'm sure there are some sick people. Now I'm joking. There's some people who want to move. However, most people used to move or tend to move because they have to, right? That's the motivated seller. Bigger family, smaller family, upsizing, downsizing, death in the family, divorce, job transfers. These are all reasons why people need to move. You have people who want to move. What's going on with this sellers market is a couple of things. You have like everyone who I know is financially savvy did something. Whether they took out, whether they refinance, and this is in the last year, not this in the last year, they refinanced, they offloaded property, they bought some new property. They financially savvy people don't necessarily wait until they have to do something, right? They plan ahead for it, which we're going to get into a little bit with this vision and this clarity. I know I'm talking you guys ears off. So it's like, so you have financial savvy people, and what they do is to lose point. You got people who will, especially in this market, will sell because of the budgets or reserves. Now, if you have an FHA or a VA loan and you're looking for something like that and you're going, it's a really tough buy, because FHA and VAs have recently, loosened their criteria in regards to the condos, because usually only get like 3 or 4 condos in Palm Beach County that would loan to VAs or FHA, because of the stringent looking at the books, the budgets, as Lou spoke about right there, as well as the reserves. Now, what are reserves? For those of you who don't know, the reserves are the amount of money that an association puts to the side for maintenance, for the most part, if anything happens, just in cases, right? So you have some associations that aren't necessarily keeping up with capital maintenance issues, things that the HOAs are responsible for. So what happens is that they get to a point where they have to do something, and the thing is, HOAs may change boards all the time, or you may have HOAs or associations that have boards that have been there for years. I mean, that's in their minds, that's their jobs. And they may not necessarily have been paying attention to it, whether it's out of ignorance or out of greed or whatever it is, but they don't. And then they hit people with assessments. And what is an assessment? An assessment is simply, like I said, if there's something that the HOA needs to take care of. Oftentimes in condos, HOAs are responsible for the exterior. So you have the roof, you have the outside of the properties. You might need to paint the properties, but the roofs tend to be by large, one of the bigger capital maintenance issues. And so when they have a roof that needs to be taken care of and they don't have enough money in the reserves in order to do it, it still needs to be done, right? Because you still need a roof. And so what they'll do is they'll put out an assessment, or they'll let people know that an assessment is coming up, right? That we need to get these roofs done. And so people have the choice of whether they can pay it up front, or some HOAs do give people the option to pay in monthly installments, etc. And so what some of these people who know this assessment is coming, especially if they're a part of an association or they're friends with someone in the association, they'll try to jump out of there. They'll try to sell real quickly to someone, to may or may not be a suspecting buyer. Maybe the buyer knows, maybe they don't know. It's always a point of, it's a great point of negotiation if you do know and you're able to afford to get it. But when we're talking about like an FHA or a VA loan, some of those loans just won't allow that to happen, right? They won't allow, once you send that up to underwriting, they're saying, well, wait a minute, there's this assessment coming. And then that, they have to take that into consideration. And FHAs and VAs, you have to have a certain amount of reserves in order for you to purchase anyways. So oftentimes it's tough to purchase a FHA, VA, because these things are more common than most people would know, the assessments, etc. There is a part on the contract, however, where if the assessment is coming in the future, if it's coming in the budget, for those of you who maybe need to talk to someone, you can tell the seller they need to pay for it. You can tell the seller you can pay for it. In a seller's market, if it's very competitive, you can even say, okay, well, you pay up until I move in, and then I'll take over if it's monthly payments, then I'll take over from there. But there's a part in the as is FAR bar contract that where you can say, listen, you have to pay for all the assessments up front, to the seller. Depends on how competitive it is, depends on if it makes sense, right? But that's that's what Lou's talking about. Here's my thought process on, if you care to know, if you care. You didn't ask, but I'm telling you. I think that the governor should have a some type of association, and I don't know, they don't necessarily need to be a part of the government, but some type of association task force. And what they do is that just randomly, I mean, it's a group, it's a company. There's like 4 to 5 different arms of it for regions. They deal with different regions, maybe from South Florida, Western Florida, Central Florida, Northern Florida, West, whatever, however you do it, maybe 6 or 7, maybe less than that. I don't know. But the thing is that this task force will be tasked with keeping associations honest, meaning that at any point in time, they can pull the books. They can pull the budgets. They can pull the reserves. They can do a what is it called when you're doing the IRS? The IRS does a oh my gosh, the word is slipping my mind. Hey guys, if you remember the word, type it in there. An audit. Here you go. It's an audit. I think the association should do. There should be a task force, a special task force that goes around and does audits. Maybe it's the IRS. I don't know, because in my experience, as young as I am, in my experience, I have seen some interesting HOAs. And it's not just in the reserves. I would look at some of the bylaws that are in there. I would look at some of the there can be some, I hate to say it, but there's definitely some prejudice things that go on in certain HOAs. There definitely seems to be certain things that are in there. I just was in the HOA recently. Lou says, "Say it." I was in an HOA recently, and I mean, these people were. This might be one of the nastiest HOAs that I've been involved with. They wanted a 693 credit score. Where does this number come from? A 693 credit score. Okay. And I asked, because I'm curious, and they were like, that's just what it is. I said, well, that's an odd number. Why can't it be 690? Maybe I should have said that, because she wasn't too happy with me. Not only that, here was the craziest part of the association. They stated that each household had to have at least $30,000 worth of income. Okay, that's fine. You want to make sure bills are getting paid. But then if you're not married, each person needs to have $30,000 worth of income. Lou said it, I didn't, but I agree with him. I'm in line with it. The ones that really keep people out are the the country clubs, because you can't finance those $50,000 to $90,000 membership buy-in fees. Those are definitely, but definitely HOAs as well. So I didn't understand. So if you were, if you had a girlfriend and you all were moved in, she could have a 690 credit. All of you all have a 700 credit score, etc. Maybe this girlfriend or husband doesn't work. If you guys aren't married, each of you would have to have a $30,000 income, which makes absolutely no sense to me. Why wouldn't it be a household income of $30,000? Why does each person, if you're not married, each person would have to be making $30,000? So it's just interesting things that you see while in this business, especially in South Florida. I definitely know there's some kickbacks going on, etc. And these people need to be watched and prosecuted if need be, 1,000%. Let's see. They want you to keep certain amounts in your bank in case you default on something. They can put liens on your condo. Yeah, I understand that, but wouldn't you rather have a lien on the condo? And they're not in the business of buying, taking over homes. However, I totally understand. I get it. You need a certain amount of money to live on the property. They want to make sure that everyone's paying the condo fees, and you're not just getting in because you came into a bunch of money, etc. However, I didn't understand. It should just be for the household. Why is it put on the individual? So if it's a girlfriend and a husband, or girlfriend and boyfriend, or girlfriend, husband. You see what I'm saying? There's certain interesting things with that criteria. So that's what HOAs do. That's what HOAs do. All right, guys. Me and Luke both have a little bit of frustration with the HOA. Maybe I should write to Governor DeSantis. He's been doing some excellent stuff. I don't know if you all been paying attention. You gotta love Governor DeSantis. Unless you are in the Democratic Party and you're running for office, I understand. But Governor DeSantis has done some interesting stuff. No, Luke, listen. Listen, awesome conversation. It is an awesome conversation. You didn't take me off. This is what this is here for. So I appreciate you engaging with it. And listen, it's almost like I know your frustration through the keyboard. I can definitely feel that. But shouts out to Governor DeSantis. Maybe I can bring him up on this association, and I can start a company, and we can start auditing these different associations. And man, I think that would clean it up. Don't you think? All right, so we went from real estate news. Let's talk a little bit about clarity. It's almost time for me to go to bed, but I do want to talk about clarity a little bit. I even had something to show you. Let me put that up there. Clarity, perfect, guys. Clarity, and clarity by any means necessary. Clarity by any means necessary. Joel and I had a conversation. I don't know if it was on the show. It might have been one of the pre-shows. And one of the things that we spoke about was all these tools. Like, there's so many tools. There's so many people telling you what it is that you need to do. I mean, there's no shortage of information, whether it's on the internet. I mean, my God, in person, you can go to meetup groups, you can get coaches, etc. And then here's how you can tell if your coach is real or not. I'm not gonna say real, but it's not just taking your money. My thought process was we give out a lot of information on Community Beacon, guys. A lot of information. Like on this show, I give you a lot of information on this show. However, people can have all the tools needed and all the information needed, but they still won't do anything. They won't take a risk. They won't move forward. You'll find them, you'll give them all this information. And I've done a couple of different one-on-ones, gave people the entire game plan. And I don't give you a lot. When, if we do a one-on-one, I'm giving you 3 things that you need to get done. And that's it. I keep it very simple. Having a conversation, a one-on-one conversation. Very simple. 3 things. Let's go. When you finish those things, come back. I'll give you 3 more things or whatever it is that you need to get done. Because most people can't handle more than 3 things at a time, even if it's very, what I would consider simple, right? And the situation is that I think most people, and during this conversation, it was brought up, is that I totally believe that most people lack clarity. That's why they can't go from A to B to C to D to E. It's a lack of clarity. It's a lack of getting crystal clear on your goals and on your focus. You can, and this takes, and we talk about it all the time. Habakkuk 2:2. An easy way to gain clarity is to write things down. But above all, you need to figure out, and Joe says is clarity. Clarity is only a step in the process. I agree. But however, I think it's a huge step. It's a huge step. And you have to become crystal clear, because if you don't get clear, it becomes cloudy. If it becomes cloudy, it tends to be overwhelming. It's like, you ever had a rainy day? What does it make you want to do? It just makes you want to go to sleep. Like you might cancel. Some people might cancel all of their plans because it's a rainy day. It's a cloudy day. It might rain, right? I want to get to the point of us just, you need to figure out what your goals are and what your steps are. And I'm going to give you some, from my perspective, what makes it a lot easier for me, because while you are becoming your best self, things are going to come up. I call it life. Life happens, right? Because life happens because there's so many things. Almost everything is outside of your control. You know, your spouse may be having a bad day. You know, your kid may be having a bad day. Something happens. Someone gets injured. Someone dies. There's a million things. Joel is on. He said, Joel, I can't see your comments. Joel is in YouTube. Lou, I think you're on Facebook. We're hitting all the platforms. So it's a lack of clarity that when life happens and you have to handle something, you have to make an adjustment. It makes it that much harder for you to get back, if you even get back, in fact. Right? Because I think we all start off with a lot of, we're inspired, we're motivated for whatever reason. It could be a consciousness. Remember, we had January 1st, New Year's resolutions abound. And people get so far. People will take it so far. I think the actual date's like February 6th is when everyone goes off track, because there was no clarity from the beginning, because things are going to happen. You have to make the adjustment, and more than likely you will handle what needs to handle. When life comes up, you'll handle it. It's about getting back on task. It's about getting back into what it is that you were doing. And you know, there says that when you break, and here's awesome. Look, and it's to the point. Clarity is an intense focus with understanding on whatever it is you're considering. I love it. So we're talking about this intense focus. So when life happens, it takes you off of focus. Like I said, you can have sickness, you could have health issues, whatever the case may be. You get taken off focus. But if you lack clarity, if you lack the intense focus, because here's what happens, and this is documented. If you are doing something and you're interrupted and you come back, it takes you 7 minutes to get back on task. So let's say you are doing something and it's going to take you, you're doing something, it's about an hour worth of work, and your phone continues going off. This is just on the lower level of it. Say your phone goes off 3-4 times, and then all of a sudden you're dealing with what you're dealing with. Maybe you went online for Instagram, social media, whatever. So barring all the time it took you to handle the issue or you getting off task, it takes you 7 minutes to get back into the task. That's if you even get back into it. Some people, if it's because greatness requires a lot of mundane, repetitive activities. If it's mundane and it's repetitive, you may never get back to it. Ask me how I know. I love Joel. There's no such thing as multitasking. He knows. Ask me how I know this. Because I'm involved in repetitive, mundane activities Monday, the majority of my mornings. And any excuse I can use to get all out of these things to make life more exciting. right? To make life more exciting, I will. And so what happens to the repetitive, mundane activities that's actually moving the needle, the time on task that I need, it gets pushed to the back. So what happens is that we elongate our goals. So if we were focused, super focused for 3 to 6 months, 3 months, whatever, it may take you 3 months to achieve your goals, 6 months to achieve your goals. But every time you have an interruption and you don't get that time on task, you elongate your goals. You push it back. What could have took 3 to 6 months might take a year now. Right? So it's very important for us from the beginning to get crystal clear on what it is that we plan to achieve and what exactly it's going to take to get there. Not to say that you're not going to make adjustments, because you're going to figure out sometimes that this is not highly effective. I need to make the adjustment. That's fine, as long as you're still going towards that goal. What I'm talking about is when you veer off course. And what should have taken you 6 months to a year to achieve is now taking you 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. You forgot about it. You're coming back into it 15 years later. How many of us had goals that we were going to have done at 26, 27? We took some time off because life happened, and now here you are 10 years later and haven't achieved those same goals. Right? Let me see something. I think we all multitask every day. We only have 24 hours, so we have to use every minute to our advantage. But yes, I agree. It may elongate your goals or mission. I think Luke switched. Oh, Luke's on Lou's on YouTube now. Okay, because that's Lou, Protection Palm Beach. You guys shout him out. You want a concealed weapons license. You want to actually understand the art of weapons and etc. Lou is the guy for you. I don't believe in multitasking. You do one thing at a time. I think we do it quickly and we start to do it very well. But I think we do it one thing at a time, 1000%. Joe says time coming can help with this. Also preparing your mind before the attack starts. Oh my gosh, Joel, you guys, Joel is on to something. I call it for me, I'm doing prospecting. I do a lot of prospecting. So pre-prospecting routine. You all saw my routine. There's a reason why my routine is the way it is. Because I'm preparing my mind to start. It's almost like giving it a time blocking. Okay, perfect. And so it's like preparing my mind to start. Lou raised his hand. I don't know why Lou raised his hand. Joe said it was time blocking. So time blocking can help with this 1000%. And when you're time blocking, really you need to, that's what I'm doing. You can't imagine some of the things that we're taking all day to do. If you just time blocked, it may take you 30 to 45 minutes. You all may if you start time blocking, your job may be finished by 11, 12 o'clock. I promise you. And if you have a pre-routine, whatever that may be. Some people you need to get up, you need to get moving, right? You come back, you do some affirmations. You might read over something, you might read something that's mentally stimulating, some quotes, etc. Start to just get your mind prepared for what you're about to get into, especially if it's repetitive and mundane, which tend to be revenue generating activities tend to be, mundane. That's why they're revenue generating, because most people aren't going to do it. Most people aren't generating revenue. Most people are busy for being busy. Okay. Something real tangible, and I want to show you guys. Let me show you guys this. Let's see. Last week I spoke about the path being in the math. The path is in the math. Very logical, tangible steps. Who knew I would have been up here talking about math as much as I do now? But life is math and science. There's rules to this. Anything outside of the rules, who wants to be one in a million, right? You want repetitive ways of becoming. You want repetitive ways of just you want to be able to repeat what you're doing. When it becomes repetitive, it becomes a process. When it becomes a process, it can be taught. A process can be taught. Processes and systems can be taught and can be handed off. And then you can start leveraging. You can have someone else doing it and you start leveraging their time. Let's see what Joel says. Many jobs take all day because of wasted effort. Hence, loss of focus. 1000%. And here it is. You're still expending that mental energy, right? It's just not effective energy. It's not effective energy. Okay, so getting back to clarity. Like once again, I said you can gain a lot of clarity by math. Figuring out what your goals, figuring out how long it takes. Look at this tool. Look at this nifty tool, and shouts out to Philip for sharing it with me. This is what we call a numbers analyzer. You guys know our prospect. I make a lot of phone calls. So let's take a look at this number analyzer this is awesome. Can you guys see this? Excel spreadsheet, shouts out to Philip. Okay. So this is just something it's math. You know, you set your income goal. What do you want your income goal? Let's say $350,000. Okay, so the average home takes, is about $9,000 to $10,000 average commission check. So we need about 38 transactional goals. This is for real estate, guys. Right? So what does it take? Because there's so much you have to do in order to get a goal. Look, it says days prospected. Most people work 240 days a year. Okay. I haven't filled all this stuff out, but I will. Well, I have another one, but this one is so much more robust to me. Hours prospected, 720 hours. This is what I would have to do, right, in order to make this goal. What's that mean? 3,600 contacts. That's great. So let's divide two, which could be daunting. 3,600 contacts could be daunting. People picking up the phone, people or who I'm talking to in regards to real estate. Let's see what that is. Let's see, 3,600 divided by 240. That's 15 contacts a day. Now, if I woke up in the morning and I didn't know that was 15 contacts a day, all I had was this number. I need to make 3,600 contacts. That could be quite possibly insane to me. Not knowing where I am. You have to keep these numbers up, right? You can go even deeper. 3,600. What is that? Divided by 720. That's 5 contacts an hour. Because we're working 720 hours, which is basically 15 hours a week on the phones, guys. It means I need to set 96 listing appointments. I need to attend 57 listings. I take 40, 3 expire. I mean, everything is a math. 3 become canceled because everything is not going to close. Listing under contract, 5 at any point in time. Buyers under contract, you get 4 from your buyers, equals 38 goals, equals $350,000. If you did not have this math, I promise you, because there's nothing more boring than listening to the phone ring in your ear, you stop. You stop. Now, I don't know what it is that people do in order to, whatever it is that you do, whatever industry it is that you're in, you need to find something like that. Or you need to create something like that. You need it, like if you're running a business, you need to have those numbers. You need to be able to go back to those numbers because you need to check those numbers. Because if you don't check those numbers and you go through a slump, in my case, I need to have, let me see, what was the number? Let me pull it back up. Let me pull it back up. Let me explain to you how a slump can happen and you would just quit. Let's see this. Let's say it says I need to attend 57 listing appointments, right? So 57 listing appointments, there's 240 days workable days in the year. And this is really 365 days in a year. So this can be actually longer. I'm going to put 365 days. Let's put 365 days because that's the entire year. Those days count. Even though you're on vacation, you're not on an appointment. So that weighs on you, right? So 365 divided by 57. 6 days. So that means I need to go on appointment essentially every 6 days. Actually, that's oh my god. Divided by 57. Yeah. Okay, so 6 days. That means that basically throughout the year, every 6 to 7 days, I need to go on one. I need to go on one appointment. I need to set and attend one appointment. So what happens on Monday? Let's say it was Monday. I didn't set any appointments. I was on the phone for 3 hours. I was making 15 contacts. It weighs on you. Tuesday, no appointments. Wednesday, no appointments. Thursday, no appointments. Friday, no appointments. Next week, Monday, no appointments. I'm hoping that you all can see. And then it gets a little bit deeper than I analyze it because there's something called a seasonality chart that I also have. I'm not pulling it up. And basically that tells you when you're going to get the bulk of your appointments. For Florida, the bulk of your appointments will tend to come around Monday, which means that you're doubling up on appointments. So you might take 2 or 3 appointments within a week, or set 2 to 3 listings. You attend 2 to 3 listings in a week, right? Which means that February and March would tend to be very slow for us. February and March, you may not go on any appointments because your appointments will come in Sunday. So and you still have to be doing these activities. You still have to work, even though you don't see it. It's the seed. You're still planting seeds because each contact counts. So you need to get these contacts as soon as possible, right? But there's certain times when it's not fruitful. So whenever you're doing a mundane, repetitive activity and it doesn't seem to be fruitful, February and March is a great time for a lot of people to quit. You can't imagine the amount of conversations I've had in February, March, and April because people weren't seeing any kind of movement of people who leave. Like imagine going to work February and real estate agents get paid off commission. So February, March, April, you don't have anything happen, but you're still supposed to show up to work with the same enthusiasm and energy. People get depressed, right? But if you can go back to the numbers while doing these activities, you know that everything will be okay. So it's the patience of it, but it's knowing that it's going to get better as long as I'm doing these activities. But if you take a week or 2 weeks off, you might have threw everything off. Now you have to make the adjustments. Now you need to be on the phone longer. Shouts out to Lou. I truly look forward to Monday to hear you spit all this knowledge. I love it. Thank you, Mike. You're welcome, brother. Anytime. Once again, I don't know what industry you're in. I mean, I know what Lou's in. I know what Joel's in. But everyone else, you need to get acquainted with your numbers like that. Because if you get acquainted to your numbers like that, then you start to have more crystal clarity on what is happening. A lot of us are stuck in some type of cloudy limbo where we're like, we don't know what it's actually going to take. Like, when is it going to happen, Lord? Isn't that what you ask? Isn't that what you ask the question? Lord, when is it going to happen? I've been working. When? Well, you would know when if you followed these models, you figured it out, you started understanding, and then here's the thing, is that as you start to become more acquainted with your numbers, now you can start to improve. Because for most people, especially starting a business, you don't even know where the holes are. You got holes everywhere. You don't even know where to start or where to begin. Where are these holes in my business? Let me go back to this number analyzer, people. I'm gonna tell you how mathematical and scientific it gets. I'm gonna show you. I'm going to show you. I don't even know if this is going to show it on this one. Okay. So basically, you go to days prospected, right? 240 days. That's just effort. That's just you showing up every day, energized. Let me see. Here it is. Here, we're gonna get up into here. You're gonna go have hours prospected per day. That's just you putting in the time on time. We're talking about, you should have about 3, right? Then you'll have the contacts per day. So we just said that it was 15. It's more than that, but let's say it's 15 and you're working 3 hours. That's 5 contacts per hour. You need to be getting 5 contacts per hour. Hours prospected to listing appointment. I like this one better. Okay, so because you go contacts to listings taken. So now you need to figure out, like, what is your average contact to listing appointment. And even before that, you need to know how many dials per contact. If you figure out which the most, it'll tell you. If you figure out how many dials it is until someone picks up. Let's say it takes you 100 dials, gets you 10. So 1 to every 10 dials, you should get 1 contact. Let's say you're not getting that. Let's say you're getting it's like every 20 to 25 dials, when the average should be every 10 dials. Now you know that there's something wrong with your number. Maybe you're coming up as spam. You know how much time could be wasted because you're coming up as spam? But that's a hole in your business. You get to check that against the math. Great. Now you're going for every contact you have, for every conversation that you have. A contact is someone who picks up and hangs the phone up on you. A conversation is you talking to someone about real estate. A conversation could last, it has to be around a minimum 5 to 10, maybe 10 seconds. You're talking to real estate. So it's contacts to conversations. If something's happening between your contacts to your conversations, that means that you suck. Your opening line is terrible. Your tone is terrible. Your mirroring and matching is terrible. You're not identifying. That's something for you to work on. Then you have conversations to appointments. Okay, conversations to appointments. That means that if you messing up at that point in time, that means that you're not in alignment with the client. You're not in rapport. So now you need to figure out how to get in rapport. How do you get in rapport? You start to understand the different personalities, the 4 personalities, how they want to be spoken to. You start to understand NLP, embedded commands. That's going to get you from your conversations. God, I'm getting super granular with this stuff. That's what's going to take you from your conversations to your appointments. Then you have appointments taken, but you didn't go on, right? You're taking appointments, you didn't go on. Might do your contacts as actual conversations. Oh, Katora, shouts out to Katora. No, Katora, and if you're still here, contacts to actual conversations, because if you notice people who are really good from the contacts to the actually having conversations, then that means that that first line, whatever your line is, whether you're calling a for sale by owner or whether you're calling an expired or even circle prospecting, that means that I feel like you're not really mirroring and matching from the beginning. So if you're not mirroring and matching, which has to do with your focus, that means that you're not really paying attention to the calls. You're going to have less conversations. You have contacts, but you're not going to have a lot of real estate conversations because you are not in rapport with the person. You get in rapport by speaking to the way people listen. So like expires is a totally different conversation. A new expires is going to be a totally different conversation from circle prospecting for the most part, because they're getting pounded. So you have to come off sounding angry because they're angry for the most part. So but the contacts are not the conversations. The conversations are me talking. At least I got to say, hey, they may not like me, but I said something about real estate. I said my name. I said something about real estate. I asked them if they wanted to get off the phone, when to call them back, or at least got that one question out. If you had sold, where would you go? Got that information in. Or I said, before I let you go, who do you know right now that needs to buy or sell real estate that I can help? Can you think of anyone? Maybe a friend, a relative, or a coworker who's looking to buy or sell real estate. Then you go from the conversations to appointment set. Then you go from appointment set to appointments attended. What happens between the appointments set to the appointments attended? You have to figure out why people are canceling on you. Maybe a terrible pre-qualification. It might be the materials you're sending over or not sending over. It might be that you're setting the appointments too far ahead of time. Because if you set an appointment 2 days or more, there's more a chance of you getting canceled on, right? Or it might be the confirmation of the appointment. You might be saying, hey, I'm calling to confirm your appointment, which is terrible. You should be like, hey, I'm calling because I'm going to be a little bit early. I'm going to be a little bit early. Don't mind me. I'll be sitting in front of your house. That's how you confirm an appointment. Or you're calling, and these are some tricks I learned from. Shouts out to Jose Bonilla. Hey, I'm calling to know if it's okay if I park here. Or can you park here? Or I'm calling because, I just want to make sure, what kind of car are you driving in? Right? That's how you confirm an appointment. And that also can cause you to lose appointments. If you say, hey, I'm calling to confirm our appointment later on at 12. Oh, no, I got something better to do. Nobody's going on appointments, right? Nobody wants, they're like, what did I just do? Some people don't even, I've heard a lot, especially the same day, just show up. We're all adults. Hey, if there's would there be any reason for you cause you to miss this appointment, right? So, but I'm saying all this without getting into too much training. Appreciate Katora for asking that question. I'm saying all this is because this is what these numbers are all about, so you can kind of understand where are the holes in my business. A lot of people don't know that, so there's holes everywhere. It's unorganized, and so you don't figure out a lot of this stuff until it's too late, if you figure it out at all. And then at that point in time, you're not running a business; it's a hobby. This is how you get better. This is how you get greater. This is what I am doing. This is. I'm very analytical, so I have to break it down. And this also helps, once again, with this, nothing is happening. 1,000%. I know a lot of this stuff takes time, but you want to kind of figure out how you can collapse the time to make this work a lot better in your favor. People, does that make sense? If it does, give me a thumbs up. If it does, give me a thumbs up. Guys, it's past my bedtime. You all got me to rambling. I appreciate you guys for checking in, the brothers. I love you guys. I appreciate all your input and engaging. It's a great time to be alive, with all this information, etc. Be your best. If you're going to do something, be the best at it, is what I say. If you have any other questions, concerns, comments, please share this with if you think anyone needs to hear it. Any questions, comments, etc. Please, if you're catching the replay, I will answer them as best as I can. I do answer them. Or you can DM me and we can have that conversation. If you're looking for your real estate needs, where is this? Give me a call. Give me a call. I appreciate it. Let me see what Lou said. We spoke about this before. I'm running my business not as aggressive, but definitely upon retirement, I'll be all in. Hey, I feel you, brother. Urgency and intensity. Joe spoke a little bit about that as well. And I'm glad to see you doing it. I'm seeing you moving. Consistency and time on task, Lou, because you are the expert in that field. Licensed firearms, concealed firearms, weapons training, etc. The sky's the limit. The sky's the limit. All right, guys. I'm throwing on my intro that Angel created, man. I love it. I will see you guys Friday, man. I can't wait to see you guys on Friday with Community Beacon with Joe. See you when I see you. Peace.
A man reproduces himself through his child, so when he leave here, he can just smile. But I see fit to stay here a while, maybe buy a timeshare somewhere, rock bumwear, beach chair, write a book each year. You can write yourself out of your blessings, wreck your Lambo the first stage just by driving too reckless. Time is too precious, these some obvious lessons. Please remind me to watch my step while I balance on edges, ski on the slopes of life, slide down the Ave at night, watching them graphing graffiti on walls, that's the sight. Cars from Germany, I be pushing the fastest type. Looking at real estate, brother, I need the asking price. Imagine another rapper making me perspire. I got more styles and more flows, plus I'm much flyer. I got more heights to